What's up, guys? How we doing? I wanted to make a longer video for Halloween yesterday, but I just didn't have the time, so I just wanted to say Happy Halloween and make a little Strangers remake video. But since it is the spooky season, I thought I would come out with a video talking about some of my favorite horror movies. Now, I've reviewed a few horror movies on this channel so far that I haven't really liked, and thought I would give you some of my favorites to give you some insight in the mind of, like, you know, what I like. Like, so first off, everybody has their own definition of horror, right? Everybody has their own thing that they find scary, that they find horrifying. And like I said in my Saw rankings review, I grew up as that franchise was coming out, right? So I was spoiled in the graphics department. So growing up, we were getting into torture, bloody, gory stuff, right? So I don't have the same love for old horror icons that others do. If I were to have grown up when Chucky was coming out or grown up when Halloween was coming out, I would have the same love for it. But because I grew up in a time where these movies were getting more grotesque, where you had more blood, more violence, more stuff like that, I look at an old Halloween movie and I am kind of bored by it. I watched the original Child's Play trilogy. I didn't really care for them. I like Bride of Chucky. But basically, the movies that have came out throughout my childhood to teenage years have spoiled me as far as visuals go. So I'm not a big fan of the older movies. But anyway, I have a list here. I'm not going to talk about every single movie in depth, but I'm going to talk about a few. So first one that comes to mind, Eden Lake. Right? So some may classify this as a thriller instead of a horror movie, but I absolutely consider it a horror movie because of what it does, because of how you leave the movie feeling. Eden Lake is about this couple. It's a British horror movie. It's about this couple that is basically going on vacation, and they're going to this beach. And when they get to this beach, it's got Magneto in it, the guy that plays Magneto, and I don't remember the actress's name. They go to this beach and they're terrorized by this group of teenagers, and it goes from being really small shit-talking pranks to very tormented and deviant and gross. And it's an interesting movie because you wouldn't actively root for the death of teenagers, but these teenagers are so depraved and so disgusting and put this woman through so much hell that, it's a weird, it's a wild movie. And I'm gonna spoil it, so if you don't want to see spoilers, I guess skip ahead a few minutes. But basically, this woman, her husband gets killed right in front of her, and from that moment on, she's got to fight to survive and gets tortured and has to kill a couple of the teenagers, and it's a crazy ride, and she goes through a lot, man, and they do such a good job at getting you to develop feelings for her, for you to want her to survive, you know? And she goes through so much shit. And at the end of the movie, she looks like she's about to get out. Because this beach is way down deep in the woods, and they were held captive in the woods, and she finally makes it out. Finally gets to a place where it looks like there's other people and she can get help. And she goes into this trailer, asks these people for help, and it just happens to be the parents of the two teenagers that were the protagonists. And one of them she killed. So whenever they find out she killed them, the movie ends with these 3 big inbreded fucks taking her into a bathroom with a razor blade, and she screams bloody murder. And the protagonist who killed the husband puts on the husband's sunglasses as she's screaming bloody murder, and that's the end of the movie, and it just rips your fucking heart out. And what I love about the ending is the fact that they don't show her being killed. There's people to this day that still think she's alive. She's not. They executed it perfectly, because not showing her being killed, showing her get shoved into the bathroom with these 3 men, and then listening to her scream for like 30 seconds. This is a perfect example of your imagination coming up with the most horrible fucking things. I think that it's just a well-executed movie that is gut-wrenching, that when I think of movies that have actually genuinely stuck in my mind and horrified me and impacted me, Eden Lake is one of them. You got the Saw franchise. First horror movie I ever saw, Jeepers Creepers. I remember my mom rented it, and I was playing video games in the same room, and I wasn't allowed to watch it. And so I guess you can't say it's the first horror movie I ever saw, but it's the first horror scene I ever saw out of a horror movie. I was playing my video game in the same room that she was watching the movie, and they were telling me not to look at the screen. The way the room was set up, like, I couldn't really see the TV. But at one point I looked over, and it just happened to be the part where the creeper has this person's head and bites his tongue and rips it out. And I was like, I don't know, 5, 6, and saw that and was like, okay. And like, it scared the shit out of me. So that's the first horror scene I've ever seen, was that fucking ripping the tongue out. So we got Saw, Jeepers Creepers, Eden Lake. 28 Weeks Later. That's my favorite zombie movie. I think the opening sequence to 28 Weeks Later is so intense, so good, so well acted, and so well shot and done. It is so intense. I honestly, if comparing it to the opening of Dawn of the Dead, which is also an amazing opening sequence, I think 28 Weeks Later is better. I think it's a better all-around movie. It's my favorite zombie movie. My favorite zombies. 28 Days Later is good, but I think 28 Weeks Later is better. Dawn of the Dead isn't as good, but it's okay. The original Dawn of the Dead, the old one, actually isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I watched it kind of as like a joke one night, and it actually wasn't horrible. But yeah, for zombie movies, 28 Weeks Later takes the cake, and I'm super excited for 28 Years Later. They should have done 28 Months Later instead of 28 Years Later, but whatever. I'm a big Eli Roth fan. Cabin Fever 1 and 2 were some of the first horror movies that I ever watched, and Cabin Fever is just fucking gross. Now, a lot of these movies I'm going to name off are movies I grew up with. If you go back and you watch them now, do they hold up as great movies like Cabin Fever? Not really. Some of the decisions they make in that movie are fucking terrible, but it is a very, very fucked up and gross movie. And there's some scenes in there that are depraved, and the Cabin Fever 2, actually, I don't think Cabin Fever 2 was directed by Eli Roth. Don't quote me on that. But Cabin Fever 2 wasn't that bad either. I believe that one's in a school, right? Or I think there's 3 of them. There's Subject Zero, which is a horrible movie. But Cabin Fever 2, which I think happens in a school, is not too bad. And Hostel 1 and 2, I enjoyed. I enjoyed the second one more because I liked seeing the perspective of the killers. but big Eli Roth fan. You know, he seemed to be one of the only ones besides Saw that were making super gross and grotesque, violent horror movies, right? And yeah, I know my lack of brain cells. I need, like, I just don't. I don't know. I watch an old Halloween movie, I'm bored, you know, because I have been spoiled with these murderous kills. Like, I just grew up in a different era. So, like, I want different things out of horror movies. Like, I don't look at Halloween and go, damn, that was one of the greatest horror movies ever, because the things that weren't cliche then are now cliche, right? So you watch Halloween now, I don't like, out of all the icons, Jason's my favorite. The 2009 remake of Friday the 13th was a great movie. I thought they did a good job there. Tons of tits, tons of badass kills. Jared Padalecki's in it. I thought that was a good one. And then I went and watched some of the original Jasons, and not a lot of them are very good. But the only scene I can remember is the boxing scene, and where Jason takes a naked woman in a sleeping bag and beats the shit out of another woman with it. That scene is fucking hilarious. The Evil Dead remake is really good. I've never seen the originals, but the Evil Dead remake was bad fucking ass. I didn't care for Evil Dead Rise. Evil Dead Rise wasn't a terrible movie, but I would give Evil Dead Rise like a 6, while I would give Evil Dead from 2012 a solid 9. That movie was just bad fucking ass, dude. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, as far as icons go, my favorite are Jigsaw, Jason, and Leatherface. Leatherface, on paper, is the scariest one. A guy that's chasing you down with a chainsaw that fucking cuts your face off and wears it. The Beginning and the other one came out whenever I was a teenager. So, like, again, a lot of these movies I'm listing, like, came out while I was growing up. And again, these two movies, The Beginning and the other one, I think are both amazing fucking movies. The Beginning ends with Jordana Brewster getting the chainsaw through the fucking car seat, through the chest at the end. A fucking gut-wrenching ending. I like movies with gut-wrenching endings, right? That you leave it feeling like, damn, like just hopelessness, you know? Like, horror movies to me are not supposed to have a, we did it, we killed the killer, happy-go-lucky ending. I want to leave the movie fucking feeling like, god damn it, dude, he did it, he fucking killed that bitch, got away with it, that sucks. And he was just very intimidating. Like, I haven't seen any of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacres, but if we're talking old horror movies and horror movie icons, Jigsaw, Leatherface, Jason. I do like Chucky. I didn't care for the original trilogy, but I like Chucky as a character. I just didn't care for the movies because, again, I'm spoiled with how many bloody kills I've seen. The original Chucky trilogy does not have that brutal of kills in it. Like, now there are some cool scenes. You can't argue with the end of Child's Play 2 with him getting fucked up in multiple ways. Or in Child's Play 1, wherever he's, like, melting and walking down the hall. That, with the knife. That scene is really cool. I like Chucky as a character. I think Brad Dourif does an amazing job voicing him, and I love his smartassness. And Hellraiser. I don't like Hellraiser, but I think it has so much potential. The idea of it, I love. I don't like the movies. The remake disappointed me, but one day, if it's executed correctly, I could see Hellraiser being really good. And I'm one of the few that liked Rob Zombie's Halloween. I actually enjoyed the beginning and showing. I understand why people don't like the beginning of it. If you're taking out the mystery of why Michael became Michael, that takes away some of the intimidation. But I actually enjoy the backstory here. It's super fucked up. And it's some of the better directed. It's one of the best directed movies by Rob Zombie. I do like his Halloween. Anyway, and The Devil's Rejects is a good movie. That trilogy, 3 from Hell was terrible. House of a Thousand Corpses was eh. The Devil's Rejects was a fantastic movie. How they somehow managed to get you to care about these 3 horrible people is good storytelling. And I don't know why Rob Zombie decided to make a 3rd one. The Devil's Rejects wrapped it up perfectly, and yeah, the 3rd one was just fucking rough. Cabin in the Woods, I own that. I love Cabin in the Woods. I saw it in theaters when I was 14. My mom and my grandpa took me for my birthday, and I loved it. I love that it makes fun, that it's basically a satirical, makes fun of other horror movies. And then the last 20 minutes of Cabin of the Woods is just sheer chaotic fun. I love Cabin in the Woods. You're Next. That's one that doesn't get talked about a lot. You're Next. So You're Next is about this family that's getting together for dinner and basically get terrorized by these 3 masked men, and they're like goat masks, and the woman there, the main character, ends up, I guess she went to some like survivalist camp whenever she was a kid, so she ends up being a badass and fucking handling her own against these people. You're Next is great. It's got some great kill scenes in it. The first viewing is the best. I think the more you watch You're Next, the worse it gets, but the first time you watch it is great. It's fun, it's brutal, it's gory. This chick kicks ass. You're Next is a good one. As Above, So Below. So this movie is about the catacombs. And it's filmed like a snuff movies, filmed like Cloverfield, Blair Witch Project, where they go down in the catacombs and they basically find hell down in the catacombs. And I haven't watched it in a long time, so I couldn't give you a really good summary of it other than that, but As Above, So Below is definitely a creepy fucking movie. It has jump scares in it. It's a genuinely good horror movie. For jump scares, the kills, the story, the acting, the way it's shot, it's one of those rare successful snuff film style movies. As Above, So Below is really good to me. The Final Destination series, that's another one that kind of came out as I was growing up. I love the first 3. Second one's the best. The first 3 are really good. After that, when we started getting into the CGI blood and shit and the unlikable main characters, it kind of got played out. But the first 3 were really good. The second and third one especially so. The Collector. Now, when The Collector came out, I remember thinking that it was going to suck because it's directed or written by the people that made Saw 4 through 6, which are the most forgettable Saw movies. But The Collector's badass. The Collection was still good. I would give The Collection a 7, but The Collector a 9. The Collection gets a little too cheesy with it, a little too cartoonish, I guess. The Collector, though, as a standalone movie, is fucking awesome. You got I love the dude is going to break into a house to steal, and there's a serial killer in it. So you got a guy who's a bad guy, essentially, and decides to save this fam. Like, he's just such a likable character. Like, they did such a good job with Arkin, I think his name is. And the traps, like, you could definitely tell it was created by the minds of the people that did Saw. Really good fucking movie. I heard that The Collected has finally been approved for being filmed, and I can't wait to see that one. The Collector is a really good movie. I think he's up there. You want to talk icons? Fuck Terrifier. I think Collector, the first Collector, is miles above the first Terrifier. Is it as gory? Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. You don't have a scene where a chick gets sawed in half, but you definitely have some brutal shit in this movie. Fuck, the second one opens up with like 100 people getting murdered by like this spinning thing with blades on it on the dance floor. The Collector is an amazing series in my mind. I think if they come out with The Collected and The Collected ends up kicking ass, I think that'll be a better trilogy over Terrifier any day. VHS 2. Casually stumbled upon that. Had never heard of VHS before. Just threw it on, just thinking it would be dog shit, and I loved it. VHS 2 was just fun. It's one of the rare fun memories I have with my mother because we watched it together. We weren't expecting it to be any good, and it was really fucking batshit insane. The GoPro zombie shit was a nice touch, a good idea, you know, and then the genocide cult of like that Satan beast, the Antichrist being born. There were some crazy skits in that movie, dude. And I heard VHS, the new one that came out this year, is really good, so I want to check that out. Life and Pandora. So I said in Alien Romulus, I'm not a huge space horror guy, but I enjoyed Life because of the way they executed the ending. Another gut-wrenching ending, like the worst possible scenario ever happens. So, which made me enjoy Life. As a movie, I don't think it was the greatest movie ever, but the ending, the balls on it, made it stand out. And Pandorum, I cannot tell you what happens in this movie because I've only seen it once, and it was when it came out a long time ago. But for whatever reason, I remember enjoying it. It came out when I was 12. So maybe it was just because I was 12 that I enjoyed it, but if I'm remembering it right, I did very much enjoy Pandorum and need to rewatch it to see if it holds up or if I was just 12 and it was cool. I'm not a fan of vampires. Never been a fan of vampires, so don't like vampire movies. It Follows was okay. I wanted to mention It Follows because a lot of people praise it. I didn't really like it. I like what it represents, but I didn't really care for the movie. And I thought it got talked up way too much. Last House on the Left remake. I really enjoyed that. That's another one I saw in theaters as a teenager. It has a very, very graphic rape scene in it, which is really hard to watch. But the revenge, like, it's such a good revenge movie. And I think the whole reason for showing such a graphic scene like that is to make you hate these characters so much that when they get their just desserts that you're rooting for it even more. It's really depraved. It's a really fucked up movie. I like The Last House on the Left. Never seen the original. I Spit on Your Grave remake, the first one. I Spit on Your Grave is a franchise that is really hard to watch, but the first remake is a brutal fucking movie. First of all, I will say there is too much sexual assault in it. They dragged the first half of I Spit on Your Grave, the remake, is literally this girl getting sexually assaulted by 5 different guys, and they show all of it. they should have cut that in half. Like, we get it. She's getting molested. Like, I'm not against necessarily showing it. I understand why they show it. Like on Last House on the Left, they showed that depraved scene to make you fucking hate these characters, to make your blood boil, to make you, like, actively root for their death and feel that much happier when they die. But I Spit on Your Grave, I think it went a little too far. Like, like, by 5 different guys, dude. Like, the first hour of it. I remember I watched this with an ex-girlfriend, and she had to leave the room, and I understand why. Because, like, it's just an hour of this woman getting fucking tortured. But the second half of the movie, holy shit, dude. The way that she murders those dudes is so fucking awesome. The scene where she has a guy on a plank over a bed of acid, and he's duct taped with his hands behind his back, and he's on a board, and he has to keep himself up. Otherwise, his face will fall forward into a bath of acid. And, you know, he's not going to be able to keep himself up forever, and he eventually starts slowly. Dude, the way she killed him off was so perfect, and then shoves a shotgun up the one guy's ass, and, like, dude, brutal fucking movie. If you can make it past the horrible sexual assault scenes, pretty good movie. Wolf Creek. There's a movie I don't see being talked about a lot. Wolf Creek is a really fucking good movie, too. Really brutal, really fucked up, really bloody, really graphic, based on a true story, as I don't know how true, but super fucked up movie. One I need to rewatch, because again, I watched this one when I was younger, but Wolf Creek was traumatizing. I couldn't tell you. It's some hillbilly that fucks with this group of girls, basically, and it's depraved, it's gross, it's got some brutal kills in it. High Tension is another one I watched. I think I watched this one, I was at my aunt's, and I was like 9, and this movie was fucked up, dude. This movie was bloody and gross, and the ending sucked. The ending made this movie suck. But as a movie, it's very fucked up and gross and disgusting, and I love it. American Horror Story, seasons 1 through 4. Absolutely love those. I think it went off the deep end after Hotel. I don't like vampires, and Hotel was just, how many times can we show Lady Gaga's ass covered in blood? And I did not like Hotel. And Apocalypse had a lot of potential, and they fucked it up in the second half, man. And ever since Apocalypse, I have not been an American Horror Story fan. And American Horror Stories, which is what I thought American Horror Story was. I thought when American Horror Story came out that that's what it was. A different horror story every episode. But instead, it's a different horror story every season. So whenever they came out with American Horror Stories, I was like, fuck yeah, well, that's cool. That's originally what I thought this was. It's been terrible so far. The actor, like, I don't know what their deal is, but the writing is like it's directed towards 14-year-old girls at this point. I don't know why you would hire Kim K, a shitty actress, to be the main star of your new season. Why? There's literally, like, seasons 1 through 4 are amazing. My personal favorite season is Murder House. And then Asylum is number 2. Like, in that order, honestly. Best season's the first one. Second best, the second one. Third best is Coven. Fourth best is Freak Show. After that, I think they go to shit. But, really good show. Everyone is Dead. I don't think that's what it's called. The Japanese horror film of the zombies at school. That show's pretty damn good. Brightburn, I thought, was good. Some of the earlier movies from, why am I blanking on his fucking name right now? God damn it. You know who I'm talking about. James Gunn. His earlier work, like, what's it called? Splitter, where it's got the little, there's like these little slug things. God damn it, I can't think of the, Slither. That's what it is. By James Gunn. That's a fucking crazy ass movie right there. Some of his early work is pretty good. I enjoyed Slither. Brightburn I enjoyed a lot more than other people did, apparently. And I loved what they were setting up there, this evil DCEU universe. Look, I'm going to say it right now. Those of you doubting James Gunn, I think he's going to make the DC... I think he's going to make DC bigger than Marvel. I do. I know that's a crazy prediction, but I think DC is going to end up being bigger than Marvel. Marvel had its time and they're starting to fall, and I think James Gunn is going to make DC be the future. Because he's a hell of a writer. See No Evil with Kane the Wrestler. It's not the best horror movie in the world, but it's got some damn good kills in it, and it's a well-executed and directed movie. The Gallows, a Blumhouse film. I'm actually going to give this one a compliment. It kind of came and went, and I've never heard anybody talk about it, so it must have not been well received, but I went and saw this with a friend in high school. It's about these people that... Apparently, this school did a play, and there was supposed to be a hanging in this play, and this student accidentally got hung, and I guess his ghost haunts the school. And in the commercial for it was Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana, slowed down and sung by a woman, and I think not only is the cover of this song amazing, but it did such a good job at making the commercial look good. It was a really good commercial. The song for the movie, really good. I thought The Gallows was actually decent with its jump scares and its kills and whatnot. One of the better, like, The Gallows and Sinister are the two Blumhouse movies that I like. I like Sinister because, like, those tapes are creepy, man. You can't deny that. Ethan Hawke's got a lot of star power, and the ending to it was fucked up. Good movie. Tusk. I actually enjoyed Tusk. I don't know. I watched it with an ex-girlfriend. She was so horrified by the walrus thing that he gets turned into that she literally almost started crying and had me shut the movie off. I think it gets into a wacky direction, and it could have been better, but I think the premise of it was good. I think Justin Long does an amazing performance. The bad guy does an amazing performance. Kevin Smith directs it really well. It's a really fucked up story. I mean, it really is. You're turning this guy into a fucking walrus, cut off his legs, cut off his arms, shave his leg bones down to make him into tusks, and then putting all these different bodies parts onto him to make him a walrus and treating him as a pet. And then the ending to it is so bleak and dark and depressing. Well done movie. I like Tusk. One I'm going to mention that I don't like as a horror movie. I don't like it at all, but I watched it because of the hype around it. Cannibal Holocaust. So this is why I'm hard on Terrifier, okay? Cannibal Holocaust was a movie made in the fucking 80s, and the special effects are so real looking that the people, when this movie came out, people legitimately thought that this movie was real, that the people actually got murdered. There's a lot of sexual assault, and the last 10 minutes of the movie are some of the most grotesque imagery you will ever see. But it's a terrible movie. It's not a good movie. It's boring as fuck. It's not entertaining, and then it's just really grotesque for the sake of being grotesque. And that's my disappointment with Terrifier so far, is that it's just been, you can be as grotesque as Cannibal Holocaust, but I've already seen that before, man. And as far as I'm concerned, Cannibal Holocaust actually beats. I think, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. I think Cannibal Holocaust actually beats Terrifier in terms of brutality. A girl is literally getting sexually assaulted by different dudes while getting her arms, head, and legs ripped off. And this is a movie made in the 80s. Yeah. So, like, whenever I reviewed Terrifier and I'm like, I've seen some shit, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I've seen horror, like, really grotesque shit, you know? But if that's all your movie's got, then it's not really a good movie. So, like, yes, Terrifier is really brutal, but it's just brutal for the sake of being brutal. So far, I'm not that invested into it. I think it's a better... If we're comparing Cannibal Holocaust and the first Terrifier, I think they're on par with each other. I think they're both terrible movies with brutal scenes in them, but I would argue Cannibal Holocaust is more brutal. Now, Terrifier 2 is definitely a step up, and I want to see the third one because it sounds like it's a step up as well, because I'm interested in what I'm hearing about the lore. And Faces of Death is another movie I thought I would mention. The first and second one. They're not very good, but they're very brutal and very fucking gory. Like, I've seen a lot of very gory movies, but that doesn't make them good movies. Movies that are just shock value gore, like, I'm not really into. It needs to be a good movie. Like, what made Hostel good to me was the guy getting out and getting his revenge in the end. And the second one I thought was well made. Like, you can make a horribly grotesque and bloody movie and have a good story. If the only thing memorable about your movie is how bloody it is, then it's not a good movie. Cannibal Holocaust is hailed as one of the grossest movies ever. Or what's that other one? A Serbian film. Don't watch that, please. That movie sucked. It's a horrible movie. But it's fucking gross. It's shocking, yeah. It's horrifying, yeah. There's shit in it that you should never see and will stay in my brain forever. But it's not a good movie. And just because you were able to put shock value in your movie does not make it good. Oh, look, I killed kids. Great, dude. That doesn't make your movie good. I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan. My personal favorite, you're going to disagree with, I like Death Proof. I fucking love that movie. I love Kurt Russell in it. I love the dialogue in it whenever he's making the left turn and explaining to the girl, like, that sucks. Because, or I don't remember the exact quote, but that's one of my favorite lines of dialogue ever. Is whenever he's explaining to her, well, that sucks because I just happen to be going this way. And if you would have said this way, then it would have been a long time before you would have had to start being scared. But because you said you're going that way, you're going to need to start getting scared immediately. And I'm definitely doing a bad job of summarizing the quote, but it's just so well said and acted. I love Death Proof, dude. And then the girls get their revenge. Fucking girl power. Yeah, dude. Like, badass movie. I love Quentin Tarantino movies. So there you go. There gives you kind of an idea of what a good horror movie is to me, I guess, maybe. Brutal-ass, grotesque. I like some revenge movies. I don't know. I'm picky, man. I'm picky. What I don't like is Hereditary. I don't like slow burn movies that think they're smarter than they really are. Eden Lake and Hereditary. Let's compare the two. Okay. Eden Lake is miles better than Hereditary. Hereditary is a slow burn psychological thriller that has a really fucked up ending. Eden Lake, I wouldn't say is a slow burn. It's definitely graphic throughout it, but it has a fucked up ending, and it impacts you way harder because of how good the directors did at making you care about this character. In Hereditary, I just wanted the fucking movie to be over. I was like, okay, fine, the family died. Fucking A, now I can get up. And I hate when movies like Midsommar and Hereditary, like, I'm glad that people like them because at the end of the day, that keeps people interested in horror and that makes me happy. But I hate how movies like that. I hate that there's people out there that think they're intelligent for liking a movie, right? Like, there's people out there that say Hereditary is the best movie ever made, and if you don't like it, you just don't get it. You just don't get it. You're just not on their level intellectually. No, I get it, dude. I just don't think it should have taken 2.5 hours to tell the story. I don't think it was that well, like, it was well acted. The mom, amazing fucking job. The story is a good story. It just wasn't for me. It was too slow. You didn't do a good job at making me really care about the characters. I don't know, and it was not scary. But that we all have our definitions of horror. So, but I hate whenever I see a movie like Midsommar, which is just boring as fuck, be praised, and then the people that praise it go, I'm smarter than you because I like this boring movie. Like, dude, I'm glad you like it. That's great. I'm glad that Ari Aster is, keeping horror alive, but I have not seen anything from that motherfucker that I like. So, don't like slow burn movies. My brain cells need stimulated. I guess I'm stupid or whatever because I don't like Hereditary. I'm comparing Hereditary and Eden Lake because they both have fucked up endings. I just think they're both executed in different ways. They're obviously telling way different stories, but Hereditary was fucking, this shitty thing happened with the sister dying. Nothing happens for 10 minutes. A jump scare, that was nothing. Nothing happens for 10 minutes. A jump scare, that was your mom walking in. Nothing happens for 10 minutes. Jump scare. Now we get to the third act, and now shit's getting crazy. I want to go home. I'm bored. Midsommar. The whole theater laughed. I saw that in theaters. The whole theater laughed at that scene where the guy's fucking the girl and all the women are around them, like, moaning. I get the artsy, unique shit that he's trying to do. I get it. He also, Midsommar is the only time I've seen acid correctly done on screen. The way that when dude was tripping acid, the way it looked is the most accurate depiction of tripping I've ever seen on screen. I actually thought that was really cool. Like, they're well-made movies. They're just not my cup of tea. There you go. There's some spooky movies for you that I enjoy personally, and there's a lot of movies that have come out in the last few years that I have not gotten around to seeing that I probably would like. I just haven't been watching movies that much, to be honest with you. I want to see Martyrs. I've heard really good things about that. I haven't seen that yet. I want to see Barbarian. I bought fucking that Nicolas Cage movie, starts with an M. What is it? Maggie or something. That movie sucked. That movie was hyped up so much, and that movie sucked, dude. Like, I forget what the fuck it's called. I think it's Maggie. I'm probably wrong. The one where his wife gets killed, and he's got to go up against these, like, demonic creatures, and I can appreciate what it was trying to do, but I think it sucked. There you go. There's kind of in my mind, in my what what you can kind of expect me to like and not like out of movies. But yeah, those are just a few. I couldn't pick a favorite horror movie if I had to, but this is a pretty decent list, I think, of movies that give you an idea of what I liked. I forgot to mention Jason versus Freddy. I love the soundtrack to that movie, actually. And that made me. I saw the Jason versus Freddy movie, and then that 2009 remake came out, and then went back and watched the Jason movies. So I like Jason a lot. I think Freddy's a bitch, a motherfucker that picks on you in your sleep. I think he's a pussy. Anyway, hot take of the day there. I think Freddy is a little bitch, and Jason, Michael, anybody up against Freddy would whoop his ass. Anyway, yeah, there's some spooky movies for you that I actually enjoy, and I look forward to talking about some more horror movies on this channel. I just got HBO Max and Barbarians on it. I might watch it and give it a review. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of get you inside my mind because, like I said, I grew up with Saw being born, right? So I was spoiled with getting the money shot, getting these gory kill scenes. I can understand loving Chucky and Halloween, growing up with that. I was just spoiled that I got to grow up with these violent movies that by the time you go watch like Halloween, it's like, well, that kill was lame. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So I'm just kind of spoiled. And yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching. Happy Halloween.